All right, we are live. So welcome everyone to this week's Force Friday. Today we're going to go over your drawings, right? We're going to do some critiques. We've got quite a bit of work to take a look at. The way we're going to run today is we're going to split it up. So each one of the Force instructors, including myself, have some of your work. And yeah, we're going to go across all of that work with each instructor, okay? So we'll have about 15 minutes for each one of us, obviously, since there's 4 of us. You guys can obviously ask questions in the chat. We're always checking out the live chat to try to respond to you guys as quickly as possible. Thanks for coming today, and let's get started. So let's see, before we do, of course, please subscribe and hit the bell if you want to get alerts and know exactly when we're going live. Know when a new live session is going up and when that's going to be scheduled. As always, as we said in the past, if we get to 150 likes, then we do have a free giveaway for you guys that we're really excited to share with you. So hopefully we can get there soon. We want to get to 150, right? All right, so here we go. We got, like I said, we got about 15 minutes for each of us. This is from, so I have Miriam today. I got Noah, Saya or Saya. Again, apologies if I'm butchering your name. And I have, let's see, Srikanth, right? So let's see what's going on. How are you guys doing? Swinley, Matunje, and Diego?
Very good.
Hey,
Yeah, doing great.
hey, everybody talks at the same time. I love this time.
Same time.
I love that too. It's so
Yes.
funny. It's like a bad setup. Happens every time too. Every week. That'll be the
Date.
All right, what am I doing here? I want to get to my brush. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is Miriam's. One of the things to keep in mind, and I think this will be probably the topic of a future session as well, is not only, how are you drawing, what are you drawing is important also, what are you focusing on? It seems to me like, at least in this image, here, let me get to my other layer, there we go. You're trying to, you have these 2 people talking. At least that's my read of this, right? So we got character number 1 and character number 2. So there's a lot more that happens here than purely the skill of drawing itself. This starts leading into storytelling as well. Not that figure drawing doesn't have story, because it does. But here, even more obviously, it's like, okay, we've got 2 people talking to one another. And, body language ends up telling us story, right? So you want to be aware of body language. If I were to read into this, I don't know if they're either very cold or if they're protective, right? Like, what are they thinking about? Why are they so enclosed, right? Like, both of these characters are like, right? Their knees up against their chest and covering their arms, covering their bodies. So that usually is a sign of, like, protectiveness. So be aware of that, without the aspect of the skill of drawing itself. Be aware of the fact that how you present characters and how they're standing tells story. Why? Because we're all human beings and we are all very sensitive to each other's facial expressions and to how we use our bodies to present our feelings and thoughts, okay? So that'd be my first thing, just for you to be aware of. When it comes to the drawing aspect of it, there's, after this, I would say, a silhouette. So when I look at the silhouette of these, because of their protectiveness, all I really see here is a ball, right? This one's a little bit different, right? Silhouettes like this, but they're like this, and then with a head sticking out of it, right? So again, think about what you're trying to communicate. Is that what is that what you want? You could, even with the fact that you want maybe this sense of closure that they both have, you could pose this in a way where the silhouette's a little clearer, right? So for instance, she might be sitting here like this, and you might do more of like a 3/4 down shot it's like this, right? And help clarify like the knees, for instance, or maybe her arm is like out here, so you get a negative space between the chest and the leg, or like anything to make this clearer, right? Maybe she's talking with her hand out off of her leg, right, like this, you see? So I think anything here to help, you know, break this up a little bit and get a clearer silhouette is going to help you tell the story better.
I think it's good to mention here, Mike, that what you're doing here is like going beyond drawing into design, like you're making clear decisions. I think that's very important.
Yeah, no, thank you. You're right. I was going to say to Swinley's point, you know, in the world of art, I think one of the challenges that we're all after, from hobbyist to professional, is this idea of clarity, right? And you're trying to create clear communication, right? We're all drawing right now, right? That's why we're here today. And drawing is a language, right? We've talked about that a little bit. And we're trying to use this language to communicate and communicate clearly, right? So I know this sounds so strange, but I remember while I was at Disney in my early 20s that I had this huge epiphany of just how much control I have over my work. You know, that whatever shows up on the page is my decision making, and I have in my power to change things. Maybe you guys don't experience this, but I know I went through this. I remember that being a really big light bulb for me. It's like, wait a minute, you kind of get in your own habits of like how you draw and what you draw, and they sort of shelter you down to options. And you want to be aware that you're in charge of what goes down on the piece of paper. So, you know, I think what happens also is you need to learn certain skills to then realize you have that much control and that much say. And the skills also teach you what to do with them, right? And I can share with you today, after being in all different facets of the entertainment industry, that one of the main challenges in art is clarity, right? Do I understand this? Because once it leaves you and somebody else looks at it, you want to make sure that they get, right? They understand what you're trying to say. It's like the worst thing in the world, right? To like be misunderstood, right? It's like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. I meant this, right? Well, your job as an artist, as you grow in your skills, which also helps communication, just even pure drawing, but all these other things I'm talking about, it's always about, am I getting my message across? Do they really understand? And when you get really good at that, then you can actually get subtle at it, right? But first you want to just be able to communicate, communicate clearly. So I would say that's my best advice for you, Miriam, is if you're going to draw a story, which I love that you're doing, by the way, get to clear communication. Like this guy down here who's holding, see, I don't know what he's holding here, for instance. Like, oh, what is that? This kind of pole-like thing. I can't tell what it is. You want to be aware of tangents, right? So you have what's called a tangent here. That means the bottom of his arm is like this, and whatever he's holding is just barely touching it like that, right? That's a tangent. Tangents are not good because they flatten out space. I don't know if his hand is in front of this pole or the pole is in front of the hand. So, you want to say, for instance, here's the hand and the pole goes like this, right? Now I know that this is in front and this is back. That's another aspect of clear communication, right? So the same thing happens in figure drawing. Again, we want to clearly communicate our ideas, which takes me all the way back to the beginning of these Fourth Fridays, again, where, remember, your drawing is only as good as your ideas. So you got to have these ideas, you got to know what you're trying to communicate, and through good drawing skills and much more, you learn how to communicate clearly, okay? All right, well, thank you for submitting. I hope that helps. I know it's a little off topic of just like how to draw, but there is, like Swanley said, there's more to drawing than just drawing. There's other skills that we want to try to understand here. Okay, this is Noah's. Noah is a new student of mine in mentorship. Let's just take a look real quick at what Noah is up to. So Noah had a really strong start. You here, Noah, today? I remember you being here in some of the other Force Fridays. So these look pretty good, right? I would say the first challenge with this pose would be like, is this a C or an S torso? Right, like trying to figure that out. Let's see what Noah wrote up here. So you can see I have students write, their ideas. It's hard to read here. It's a little light because of the lighting. But I have them do write-ups. We try to figure out what the balance of the poses. You can see him putting the, center of gravity in here, right, center line. And then we have iterations. So he's going through something called the RAID process on the website. So he's doing numerous drawings to try and figure that out. Some good rhythms going on, right? So this is how it all begins, everyone, right? It's like, let me figure out the templates, but at the same time, let me feel like I'm driving. I would say, Noah, my suggestion to you is, to continue with the idea we talked about last week, which is to continue connecting as much as possible. This connection aspect at the beginning is to really just try and feel the flow of the body, and some of the students, when I teach them this, they get into, oh, well, that's not what I want my drawings to look like. And this isn't so much about what things look like. This is about understanding how fluid things are, right? A great exercise for this, by the way, for all of you is, can you draw the body in, let's say, 4 lines? Should pretty much be able to get through everything in 4 lines. But what does 1 line mean? Well, 1 line is, I could start at the hand, at the fingertips, go all the way through the wrist, the arm, the shoulder, right? Come through, come up into this leg, go down the leg and get to the foot, for instance, right? So that's 1 line. I might need another one, for instance, for the neck and head, right? So that would be the 2nd line. I'll need one for the other leg. So that's a 3rd line, right? The 4th one is typically the other arm, right? So you can see that here. So that gives me my 4th line. So in 4 lines, when I say lines, I mean paths of rhythm. You can get the whole body put together, right? So I would say that's it. I mean, otherwise, Noah, you're doing great. We'll talk about getting into more specifics, I think, with you on the line. The force line itself has different phases. So I think, we can start having conversations around that. And then after that, we'll start going into, into form. But you've got some good stuff going on here. Good line. He's using the tools. The tools here are smooth newsprint and a Lyra 9B graphite. Lyra is spelled like that, 9B. Right, and you can see what he's doing here. I love this. Just feeling it out. Just feel it out. Try to understand the wholeness of it and loosen up. Through the mentorship meetings I had this week, I think one of the main comments was, man, just loosen up and let all this flow. It doesn't always end up having to look like this in the end, but this is the staple of understanding fluidity in the body. Okay? All right, let me keep moving here. Otherwise, I'm going to lose time. We got 2 other people. Yeah. So this is, again, I'm not sure if it's Saya or Saya. Let's take a look. I think you just joined Premium, if I'm not mistaken, on the site. So welcome again.
Mike, somebody asked, what's the RAID process? And I think this is a good moment to just mention it.
Yeah, this is a perfect example, actually. So RAID process on the site stands for, R is reference, right? So that's the imagery that you decide to draw. By the way, this is probably what artists glance over the most quickly or ignore, I'd say the most quickly, and it's actually the most important step, right? You want to pick reference that inspires you and excites you, that you're challenged by, that, that has force, right? I have so many people for some reason always email me or ask me, yeah, but then how do I draw a figure that's standing straight? And by the way, that has been done. It's in every one of the books. It's just basically a template of the front or back of the body. And that can be done. But we're trying to find force and drama, right? And be sensitive to that and get excited by that. So anyway, pick good reference. A stands for analysis or analyze. Analyze. So you can see over here that that's starting to happen over here, right? We can see it in the photograph. There's a lot of writing, even right on top of the photograph that's occurring. I would suggest also, I like seeing a written description. So actually write down what you're trying to accomplish. And the order or hierarchy of those notes is important as well. It's almost like writing a task list, right? It's like, I want to get the torso. So maybe I'm going to write, I need to get C torso. I want to think about the compression. So I would write like compression of the right leg underneath the body, the stretched out left leg, right? And that right leg is supporting the body, how the torso is draped over that leg. All this stuff matters, you know, and you want to think in verbs, right? And actions, and you want them to be as exciting as possible, right? This all matters. It's important because, again, how you draw is how you think, right? So if you're thinking in ways that are very boring or mundane or not exciting or not rich with, you know, verbs and adjectives, then that shows up in your work, right? So I have them go through the analyzing. The other part of analyzing, by the way, is something called the gravity guide, which I think we may have talked about a little bit here and there. So that's more of like a stick figure with a flour sack body. This is to really understand function. And then after that is I, which is iterate. And here's an awesome job of iteration, right? They're numbered out. There's lots of different versions here. This is where you not only build your confidence to draw the figure, but you also get to experiment, right? It's like, am I going to the right places in the body or not, right? So that's what you want to try to do here. And you look pretty great. And I think you've gotten to an excellent place here, Seiya, with flowing around, right? Flowing through the body, you're making the connections that I was just talking about, right? Like you're trying to flow through here. I see how you came up. I love that you grabbed the hip and came out over here and you're flowing here. You could flow here, right? See how you did it here. You went from the front of the thigh to the back of the calf. You can also try to flow into the heel, right? Come over the top into the foot and into the ball of the foot. You're looking to try and glue all these ideas together, right? You want to keep working on seeing the body as like one idea as much as possible, right? So excellent job. I mean, you're doing great. And thank you for sending in your work. This has really helped me describe for everyone what grade looks like. You know, yeah, you're doing a great job. Okay, last but not least, ScreeComp, right? ScreeComp. Let's see here. Okay. So I'd say my first note would be line, right? There's a lot of good movement going on here. I can see the drama that you're going after. But when it comes to the line equaling ideas, right? So line equals ideas. And those ideas right now, what we're thinking about is force, right? I want to think, man, I really want to push into this shoulder. I want to think about this body. It looks like it's an S torso, meaning I'm going to go from here to here. So I want to draw the force of the rib cage pushing out this way. So there's applied force going on, which is what's internal. And the external is directional. And where is it going? It's going over here, right? Well, I want to flow my way over there. Notice I drew the applied force. Right? This is what I mean as I talked about connecting today. So I'm flowing over there. Right? I want to get over to this leg. Right? I'm not even going to draw the form right now. I just want you to notice that I'm drawing all these forces. Right? So we're drawing something like this. It looks like the arm's going like this. And then it's hard to tell what the other one's doing. I think maybe it's up here and then popping out, like so. And then the neck and head, right? So you can see that you can start traveling through, you know, the whole path, right? Like this is the beginning. Again, just the very beginning, but this is what starts to create drama and fluidity in your work. Okay? So to close on my section here, with this last one, watch your line. You're a little scribbly. I like loose. Loose is great, but you want to be loose and long. Loose and long ideas, not like scratching along. I would say that's my main comment for you. Okay. You do have a sense of drama, so that's good. And you did see that. We want to get more clarity about how you're thinking about it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to my section. Who goes next? What did you guys decide?
I think it's me, since Diego picked the order.
Okay.
Don't throw me to the lions. Come on.
Also the lines.
All right, let's see. We also got some awesome submissions here. Let's see. The first one is Gabriel. Seems to me like Gabriel is attempting to like sculpt the figure, which is great. The drawing has a like good sense of balance and volume. I would say to connect to what Mike was explaining earlier, Gabriel, I would say just draw longer lines. Like I see small movements, but you can really draw like long lines. And even in the sculpting, you know, use long, start with the big ideas. Like this flows into the belly. And I would say draw through. And maybe you did and it's just light and if you cannot see it, but just draw through close the torso, top and bottom. So it gives you a good foundation to work off of. Then you can come here over the hips. Then you have this leg. So you're on the right track. Again, just use longer lines and really make sure that the force is clearly connect. You know, because it's this connection of forces creating rhythm that make people go, hey, your drawing is really fluid, because these force curves lead the eye from one place to the next in the body, you know. And the moment you break that, the moment you break this pattern, all of a sudden the eye stops. It's like, okay, there's nowhere to go, you know, and the sense of fluidity stops. So that's why it's one of the reasons why it's so important to make sure you get the connections right and draw long ideas. This leg seems like it drew outside, inside, outside. I would have to see the reference. Of course, it seems like, I don't know if that would work. It seems more logical for the leg to be like front to back here to support what's going on. Get rid of this. So a front to back seems like more functional to me in this pose. So yeah, just bigger connections, and again, even for the sculpting, you know, use the force surface lines and let them follow the directional forces, you know, and just don't be afraid to get messy if needed. You can always put another sheet of paper on top and clean things up later, you know, especially for practicing. Don't focus on the beauty of the drawing, just use drawing to analyze and understand.
It's still so beautiful.
What did you say, Mitunjay?
It is still so beautiful.
What do you mean?
I mean, the drawing looks pretty still, you know, with just
Yeah,
forces.
yeah, indeed, indeed. It's the what Mike was explaining earlier is the clarity of the
Yeah.
analysis. Like the beauty is almost a byproduct. You don't have to worry about that. You know, if you just make sure you're drawing clear and exciting ideas, and that the whole body is connected, it's balanced, that everything works basically. You know, and the beauty will take care of itself if you manage to pull that off. Okay, that's number one. Let's see. We have Archie, I think. This one is pretty interesting. Uh, the first thing I would recommend, Archie, is for you to look at the video that we did about perspective. I think it was 2 weeks ago, right? Where Mike effectively assassinated 1 point perspective, at least the way it's told in most books, right? This angle here, it should be like, this tells us that we are looking at the front of the box and that we are seeing the side at the same time, which if you watch the video, you will see Mike demonstrating with a real box that this would never happen. You know, this front plane would have to be at an angle. It would have to be something like this. You know, so that's just the perspective part of it. For the figure themselves, let's see. It seems like the intention is for these two figures to be about to fall in the water, I think, if I understand the story correctly. And what I like here is the fluidity of your lines, and you've got some nice shapes going on. I would say try to bring more rhythm into it. Again, just to create that sense of connectivity and fluidity to like seamlessly lead the eye from one place to the next. And same for the legs. This would be like front to back. I think I have to reduce this opacity a bit more. Let's say about 30% should do it. Yeah. So this leg be a front to back, then it flows in the top of the foot. Then you have the force of the toes. So more rhythm and connectivity, and this head is like, of course, I'm drawing this super simple for time's sake. So this hand is like slightly bending forward, right? You want to make that clear with your line work. Same for this one, like you would need a rhythm for a neck and head.
So Lee, I think this is a good example to talk about gravity, because here gravity is like a crucial moment in this photo.
Yeah, well, it seems to me, if I interpret the story right, it seems like the intention, and also judging from like the expression of the character, that they're about to fall in the water, right? At least that's how I interpret it. I don't know if
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Gravity, something sucking them to.
Yeah, exactly. Like gravity is pulling them down, right? You can feel like this creates like a moment of tension, like it's about to fall, which is exciting. This hand is wrapping around. So basically just bring more rhythm into your drawings, and that will like connect the shapes. You know, you will get good shape design that is fluid
Can I add one thing quickly?
to look at.
Swinley?
Yeah.
So my suggestion here would be drama. Like I like the functional idea of there's an edge of a pool here, and the story is about characters falling into the pool in this like loving moment, right? And you
Yeah.
know, you're kind of helping with the drama. This artist is doing this kind of thing with this angle. First of all, the angle is too similar to the edge of the pool. Like this isn't staged very well because of the parallelness of those ideas.
Mm.
But I would add, if you wanted to pump up the drama of this, I would have, you know, the boyfriend might be more like this on the edge of his heel. I like that. He might even have one leg that's like, whoa, right? Because he's getting knocked over. And I would have her like leaning, you know, this is her head, let's say, and she's like going in to hug him. I would have her in like a C torso and have her like pushing into his body more, like she's like literally like leaped into his arms. You see, now there's like no way out, right? Like she's thrown herself literally at him, and he's in this like situation of we're going in the pool, right? It just adds more drama. The angles are stronger. You know, her diagonal is stronger to his, right? There's a, you know, basically it's this to this, right? And that the angles, remember, angles still represent force and ideas. So the angle variation between the two creates more drama. And then with the pool, to Swinley's point about 1 point perspective, I might even draw the pool more like, I don't know, more like this, right? Like that's more interesting too. Right? Like just have the pool in a more 3/4 like perspective. It's just more to fun to It's more fun to look at, and it's still clear. You did a good job of saying like, here's the pool, but it could still be turned and not take away from the story, you know, to take away from the idea. So
It's
yeah,
like the movie, right? It's like where do I shot this from so I can get the more drama out of of this scene, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I start with what is most simple, and I think that's what this artist got. Like I would start with, let me just get the profile and get the pool. I think that's smart. I think that's a good place to start. So you can tell the story clearly, like we just spoke about, right? So that's good. Now, if I want to pump up the drama of it, how do I do that? So I understand the points of clarity that I need. How do I hold on to that and still make this even more exciting or more dramatic and say what I want to say? You could argue that you want it right where she's about to knock him over and they're standing straight and she just barely pushes him and he's at this very precarious moment of, oh, I'm about to fall in. That's all of a sudden a different story, right? So all those things change how you address the situation, you know? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, indeed. No, good point, Mike. There are different levels to picture making. Of course, you have composition and storytelling, which are each one is a subject on its own, you know, to teach. You know, we just most of the time we're teaching figure drawing, but you also get into composition and then storytelling, to Mike's point, which is another layer. And coming back to the rate process, I would say just make different sketches of this, you know, and experiments with different compositions to check out what works best, what tells the story in the most dramatic way, and then you pick one and you start refining it, you know, because if you just start putting all the work into this one, and maybe on a top level, on a storytelling level, the picture is not dramatic enough, you know. So you want to start simple, experiment with different compositions and storytelling, and then you come in, you pick one, the best one or the best ones, and then you continue refining it, you know. That way you're efficient with your time.
Yeah. How many more do you have, Swinley, or is that the last one?
No, I have also this one from Kelly K.
Well, let's keep moving because otherwise we're going to cut into Matunje's time.
Okay, let me
I
go
had
read.
three, so you can take like time for one.
Oh, right. You have a little less today. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Let me see. This artist, Kelly, I would say good line work. It's very fluid and clear. The one thing you want to do is to add more structure, like you're drawing with shapes, which is not wrong, but the shapes you see in reality, especially when we're talking about the figure specifically, the shapes are created by the forms of the body. So the shapes have volume, you know, so pay attention to that you just make sure that, like, this is great, what you're doing, like the function is clear force wise. It only needs a better sense of structure, like come in here and fill in the V shape of the pelvis, draw the center line, you know, maybe you even draw the rib cage in there.
What you're doing is perfect, Swinley, by the way, because we've got Joshua asking about talking more about form and structure.
Ah, okay.
Like you can get some turning edges in there, some wrapping, and center line.
Yeah, indeed. Like this drawing, it needs more work in order for it to work, you know. It doesn't just happen automatically. You really need to go in and make sure you draw everything out, you figure it out. So this is great. Again, just like figure out the structure. Like Mike said, use wrapping lines. You can come in and use the turning edge to find the corners of the masses. And that way your drawings will be so much stronger. I can guarantee you that, you know. I mean, if anything, you can, our works, our drawings bear witness of that. You know, we are drawing with force, form, and shape, all three of them combined. Let's see, and to come back to the point of fluidity that we talked about earlier, like the fluidity stops right here, because all of a sudden there is nothing that's leading me into the neck and face. You know, so force comes from the back and then into the neck muscles and into the face. You know, so now I have this leading my eye to this and to the face. Now it feels fluid and connected. All right, so again, this is great. Good sense of balance also in the pose. Just focus more on structure. Fill this with more structure, you know, before you get into the shapes. Okay, last one is Gerardo Acevedo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Seems like a 4 student also, judging from the drawings. This is great, great reference, by the way, great perspective. There are some good things going on here. I can see that you are drawing with structure also in the torso in any case. I would say, just like you did here, like try to figure out, especially since you're studying, like try to figure out what's going on with the legs, you know, don't leave them out. Like in a pose like this, the legs are the pillars that are supporting the upper body mass. So I would say come in here and really draw them out. And this leg seems like outside, inside, outside to me. Then force goes into the ankles and on the foot. And of course you have this platform like blocking his feet. What I would say, just try to visualize, because you're drawing and you're drawing to understand, right? So try to visualize what's going on. Now, what's going on? Where's his foot placed on that platform? Let's see. So here the neck is bending in this direction. So you have this triangle created by the neck muscles right underneath the chin. So again, you get force like from the back into the neck muscles and into the face, which gives us a nice and fluid connection. So yeah, this is great. This is pretty good. And in terms of force, I can see you're really driving energy around the figure. I would say just fill it with more structure, especially for a pose like this. Like you really want to come in here and clarify the forms to show what's going on. You can use a turning edge. Get a clear V shape here for his pelvis. Make sure the angles are accurate. So with just a little more work and figuring out what's going on, this drawing would work really well. Okay, that was the last one for me. I think Metunje is up next, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yep.
Great job.
So let me share my screen. All right, so welcome, I set up this grateful poster here. So thanks for joining in, everyone. So first is Noah. Okay, this is Noah Mullins. Yep. Hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
Yeah. So Noah, yeah, you're simplifying. What I like about your drawing is you're kind of simplifying the figure. And that is actually hard, to simplify figures, because when people come in, they're like not really afraid, to simplify things up. And what I like about your drawings is, you're simplifying things. Okay. So the first thing I want to tell you is about, again, line. So you want to connect more, So in this figure, for example, you can see like this is really hanging down here. Okay. I actually like to use some of the parts of your drawing because, for example, in this figure here, what you can see is like you darken up the line here to show that stress. So I really like that, but you're missing the connection, and missing the like fluidity all over. When I'm drawing, I'm always thinking like, okay, the human body is like a composition, so your eye should like flow all over. It should not like stop at a certain places, something like this. For example, in this section, in this figure, this pelvis area, I actually identify this. So this is like a shape we used. So this is almost like detachable, like from the thing. I can almost like do this, cut out the lasso and like maybe I can like do something like this, and I can cut out it. It's like not connected like through the whole figure. So, and the main idea what we're like going for is, one line is one idea. Okay, so it's actually that thing is lying around inside the body, and like nobody knows like what's it doing up there. So it must be like glued to the whole body, So I would do this, and I would figure out the forces first of all, right? So this comes from the back, going into the front of the thigh. Okay, that's a good thing you have done, like front to front. I would also go front to front in this, and this leg would be front to back. So they're really cool. And yeah, for example, in this foot, you want to show some stress because that's actually bearing some stress in there. So maybe some light lines and then re-darkening of that part, so you get a sense of weight in there. Okay? Always think about gravity. Write G on top of the page in the corner so you remember it. Like, okay, there's always gravity. Like I take a font here, like everywhere on the paper. Okay? And yeah, figure out the connections here. Yeah, this is again a really good post to talk about right now. Because somebody says in the chat, I think Francisco said in the chat before that, something about like rate process or something. And many people actually ask this, that this is like a pretty straight figure. This is something like, just a straight line, we can't find dynamic forces in there, I would say. Yes. So, but I won't say this has no force, because now you can see like really scrunches up his back like that. So it's really like pushing in the force in there. Okay. So I don't want to talk about form right now because like this is something like it's related to form right now. Okay. But I can say like, yeah, this is like you can still push force in there. Something like this. But in the beginning now, if you're like really beginning now, you can take poses something like this, whatever the other poses you're taking, because this is something hard to do. It has like all the musculature and all the function. Okay, so you'll like get confused naturally. And now look like how clear this pose is, So just be simple and keep connecting, right? In this pose, I would say, look, this is not like clear to me right now because like where the hands are going. So I'll just make an assumption here. So something like this. This is going up, this is going here. Again, now try to show some weight, that the foot is like, this, like they're actually bearing that massive weight of the torso and like the thighs in there. If you want to feel it, you can just like do the pose yourself. I always do it because it actually shows us the empathy, pretty cool. And this would be something like this. And so like keep connecting, I would say just keep connecting and just glue them all together so that there's no space left in the figure that's you know, somebody says this has no work in it. Okay. So thank you, Noah, for submitting. I have Ray. It's so funny, like we are talking about like rate process, and there's a guy named Ray. I hope I'm pronouncing right.
Yeah, there you
So,
go. Spells it better, but same pronunciation.
oh, so really cool pose, you know, Ray. And you have a lot of foreshortening going on in there, and this massive hand, you know, really coming like forward to the camera, and faces, you know, faces smaller than the hand itself. And I really like that, you know, the pelvis is like going back further, so it's like more small. And I like the sense of the scale in this. But, you know, again, it's all about, you know, line right now. So, you know, be simple with your line, and try to keep the simple lines, you know, being connected there. Okay. So let's redraw your pose. It seems like you're aware of the scale, but now in this, like, I don't think like you're aware of the function that much. Okay. So what do you have to do? Just you have to be simple. Just think of this squash in there, you know, and the other side of the torso, and this stretch that would make it as a C torso. And now like come to the deltoid, and like really simple line, you know, one line for the hand. And again, you know, this is, by the way, this is such a foreshortened pose. So I would like go to form a little bit, because yeah, that gives me some sense of like depth, you know, like hand is really coming forward and face is like pushed back in there. And let's see, and you don't have to like do these all fingers, okay, because now look, again, you are dealing with the shapes and the shades. I think you have shades some of the fingers, show that turning. Okay, so I really don't want to go to that right now. This will okay. Yeah, this leg would be, I would go like front to front, because like to show this dynamics here, because like that's a function of it. And yeah, something like this. So now you see, like I don't like bother making this whole leg, you know, completing this whole leg, something like this and this, like, because that's not my idea here. Okay? That's really not my idea. My idea is to like get this really dynamic, like shoot down, like, and you know, that weight in that foot, you know. So here, like I give like 2 creases, something like here, and you know, make this thumb like this, something like this, because when you do that, you know, when you do this kind of pose, so they're like creases coming up in your foot. Okay, so that's my idea. That's what I go for.
Watch your time. Okay, we're creeping into Diego.
Okay, and this one more left, and this foot. So yeah, good that you have a sense of skill here. But you know what I want you to do is be simple and be connected. You know, you can see like there are like so many lines in here, and one line is actually one idea. One line is actually one idea. Okay. So watch out for that. You have good sense of skill, but be simple. Thanks for submitting, Ray. Now I have Ridhiman. I'll call you Ridhiman. I like that. So, hey, Ridhiman, how are you, Ridhiman? So now we see like you submitted like these figures. Yeah, like the biggest thing I can say in like in this foot, you know, in this figure, this foot. So she had all like the, again, like the weight thing, the gravity thing I want to talk about. Write G like in the corner of your paper, so you can always remember that there's gravity acting like on the whole figure, on this planet and all of us. Okay, so you can see like she's really like on her toes, right? Like this, you know. I don't think like that would be your reference saying, right? So what you want to do is you want to show that weight and do this. Try to show that weight, like all the massive support here. And yeah, again, like try to connect. I don't see the connection between your lines. Okay, so try to connect it. be simple as you can, but be simple with your ideas as well. Okay, so that they are quite understood by the viewer. Okay? So this would come here, this would like hit into the hip again, like go to the upper side of the thigh and like front to front and hit into the heel. Okay, so something like this. You can say like how simple is the idea, but like how fast am I able to like make this all. Okay?
All right, listen,
You can
we gotta head out and get over to Diego, okay?
okay.
All right.
So thank you, Redeemer, and here's my end of session.
All right. Thank you, Mattesi. That was awesome. It was interesting
Okay.
to see how fast you draw. God, you're like lightning speed lines. I'm like,
He's still young, Mike. He's still young.
I know. Well, we'll see how you are when you're 50. Yeah, good job.
Okay, hand it over.
All right. This is me. How are you guys? Okay, I'm gonna be kind of running. I don't draw as fast as Ritunjay, but I'm gonna do my best.
Yeah, if you go over, Diego, it's okay. You know, take what the time you need.
I took all of your time.
Okay, no, don't worry. Okay, here's Brendan drawings. I kind of was looking at this before we start, so I have today I want to talk about the looseness of the drawing. There are here really good examples of looseness of the line and the thinking. For example, in this one is a great example of looseness. Like he's going like this and going down, and I'm starting to think that one good idea to do when you're drawing like this kind of drawing, I can see this is the only case I see two drawings, right? So let me get back the thought about rate, process, and iterations. Iterations is really important. I don't know if you did like 200 drawings of each and you just pick the better ones, but yeah, draw a lot to understand what's going on in the pose. This is another good pose. But I want to talk specifically, all of them are really good. So I want to talk about one specific pose, is this one, that I see something that that we can all get something out of it. Yeah, I know that at the beginning we said, don't worry about proportions or being accurate or something like that. But in this case, it looks like you're pushing way too much to this side. So you're breaking the pose and the balance of the pose. So it's okay to understand the angles of the shoulders like this. You know, this is what I'm drawing. The angles of the hip, this is what I'm drawing. But then be aware that what you want to get here is, let me grab another color, is this, right? You want to do that and you want to feel that. So in order to feel that, don't lose the position of the things. So you don't lose like the balance. So you're going to be here, you're going to have the spine, and you're going to work your way down here and start going around. And we talk about shapes also. So see how small is this and see how big is this. That tells me the amount of rotation we have there. So when you put this line in the middle, it's not just a simple line to divine gluteus, right? You're saying a lot of things with that line. So if you put it here, you're talking and you're explaining me, you're being clear about where that hip is. Okay, then you can go to that arm and feel here and go to this shoulder up and the head and whatever. Here we have a rhythm with the neck. Be aware of the direction of the head, right? Like that. And then, yeah, you keep going. But try not to break the pose by pushing too much one thing to one side and one thing to the other that start to fall down to the side. Also, don't try not to complete here because you're creating unforceful shapes, right? So be aware of that. But anything else of that is really, really nice poses, really nice work. I love this one. But yeah, be aware of not breaking the pose by exaggerating. When you exaggerate, try to keep the pose working. Okay, so this is Christopher. Yes, Christopher Blatt. These are really analytic drawings, which I really like. This is the drawing I like the most, and it's the simplicity and all the drama and movement you can see in that drawing. I really love your lines here, your arrows, like showing, look at this, look how this move, look how sweepy everything is. But once again, be aware, I don't really believe this foot is that higher than this one. Actually, if I have to bet money on it, I think this leg is gonna be way lower than that because it's closest to us, right? Uh, Talking about anatomy, because I think you're going there, you're going into anatomy. Try not to lose the fluidity you got in here by making everything so stiff and so like so boxy. And I see you can starting to add like some surface line here, which are great. But try to add like straight lines and curves when they are needed. Like if you want to show, like here, for example, the knee, it would be great to see some straight line here to show bone, right? You come in here, you come in straight, you come in that way, go around. Okay, you got the toe. This pose also feels like he's falling a little bit forward, right? So be aware of that. I like his head. You put his head kind of small. I don't know if that's your idea to exaggerate that. I don't think so, because you're doing kind of specific drawings, like specific anatomy. Also be aware here of width. Try not to break bones when you're drawing like the anatomy thing. Okay, try to feel like this has volume and it needs to go around, right? You have to go around all the form in there. Okay, let me see, because I have all my faces and my fellow artists' faces, they're blocking the view. Yeah, it's pretty good. I really like the way you analyze things. And yeah, be aware of that. Be aware of the of these little things that are not little at all, but try not to lose the fluidity you got in this drawing. This drawing to me is a piece of art. I really like the way this looks and how flows these arms and this neck going this way and the head. I really like this. So don't lose this to get anatomy. To me, that's crucial on when we're talking about figure drawing. And last but not least, I have here, how am I doing? I have 2 minutes left to be on point. I'm awesome.
Yeah, you're fine.
You know that you're awesome, Diego.
Yeah, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I want to say that to myself every day, so I can read. This guy is called, listen to this, Devashish Goswami. I'm sorry. I know I kill your name, but
called him Deva.
yeah, okay, yeah. He's my translator to Hindi. So these drawings are really good. And I want to talk a little bit about Glenn King for this drawing specifically. One exercise that I do, and I like you to practice, is don't lift your arm from the paper. Or actually, not your arm, your pencil. Just keep drawing whatever it's on your mind. For example, here, what we want to show is this, right? He's going there, and this arm is grasping to that chair, right? That would be my idea if I see this pose. So what I'm talking about here, because I see this super strength line down here that doesn't mean anything, because this leg is doing almost nothing. So just go like this and start moving around, and don't lift your pencil. Just grow there and feel the connection, this connection. Feel this, grab here, right? And this is all the mess, but it's gonna make you move to then be able to think clear. you know, this is like garbage. If you see this, what I just did is garbage to the eyes. But to me, it makes me feel really where things are traveling and moving. And the word we use is driving. So imagine you can drive your car as fast as you want, and it won't start rolling around like when it explodes. Imagine you can do that, then do it with drawing. Let me lower the opacity here so you can see what I'm talking about. If you start like the way I just show you, imagine then you can say, okay, then I can go here and then I can go out to the face, because I already drove that road, so I know where to go. It's like I'm coming here, go around. I feel this leg coming this way with the knee, with the lower leg around the foot, right? And this other, I will go like that and down and get to the there, right? So look, if you look at any Glenn King drawings, you'll see that many of his drawings are really crude, but really clear. You see, this drawing I just did shows this is what we want to go. It's like there, boom, and this grasping here. Okay, so the same thing here. You really notice something here. This is really good. You did notice that something's going on in his back. It's not here the problem. The problem is here, and you notice that, and that's amazing. But what can we do with that? You know, what is that useful for? And look that you're trying to go to an S here, but you went really out there, and this is not happening, right? So be aware where the applied force is. That is here in this case. You show me. I'm not seeing the reference, so I have no idea what I'm drawing, but I'm following your guidance, right? With your drawing, I'm following your guidance. So I'm following what you're. I think you thought when you saw the reference, right? So you will go here. You will go down there, out. You will have this, the knee, right? And you go down to this foot, right? And you go and turn here. Once again, I'm not worrying about the result, because I'm trying to understand the movement of this pose. I'm trying to go to get this rhythm and this connection. All of that is to avoid, let me delete that, is to avoid this. You see, and that is when you lose the connectivity and the movement of the drawing. So to me, a good exercise is just draw, just drive. Go around, feel this, feel here, get this, get to the head, right? Go here, go around, feel here, down, there. Okay, as Mike was saying before, do this in one line, but not in one line. I don't mean like go like that. Just get one road. Okay, one row here, one row here. Okay, but feel it. Feel the drive. Feel the there. Okay, so that's my thinking for and my critique for this drawing, because they're good. You're on the right path, but some of your lines are starting from some. For example, this one. Look at that. Look at this line. What happened there? It's like that, you know? And you want to show, we talk that this arm is grasping here. So you want to get as fast as you can to this place. So if you start doing like this, then you're losing that. And that is the dynamism we're looking for in force. So that would be all the drawings I have. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and we can stay for 2-3 minutes more. Guys, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like how you were closing up here. This is very similar to what I was saying with the skating the page. The quote unquote garbage drawing that like Diego was talking about, where it's that loose, or how Glenn draws, is very similar to the skating the page exercise, where you just really try to loosen up. I would say a very general challenge for students starting off with learning how to draw force is just getting over your uptightness. You know, everyone's worried about just trying to get the model right and the pose right and the drawing right. And I think we all try to teach you a lot of the opposite of that at the beginning. Like, just loosen up, you know, loosen up and flow around the page and try to see the body as one whole idea, and try to fight the urge to be the most accurate, perfect student. You know, that's a lot of stress, and it takes a lot longer to learn how to draw, believe it or not, that way than loosening up. So, yeah.
Okay, I'll stop sharing this. So we have your full frontal face on the screen.
Great, let's not do that. Let's get back over here. Okay, so that's it, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Thanks, guys, Swenli, Diego, and Mutunje for teaching and sharing your advice and your skills. And we will see you all next Friday. We haven't decided on what it's going to be yet. Friday will probably be a lesson, right? So today we spent the whole hour talking about critique. And I'm going to try to get future lesson plans up, and I should say Force Friday subjects up ahead of time in the future. So you'll be able to see what's coming up every week. As I said last time, we've been working on interviews in the background. So we're actually editing one now, and I have an interview with another artist this weekend. So get ready. Some very exciting things coming our way. All right. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you in 7 days. Have a great weekend.
You guys.
Yeah,
Yes. Bye bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.